Well, thank you very much for having us up here to the lovely state of Oklahoma. As Clayton mentioned, I did get to Texas as quickly as I could, but I think I may have passed by something just as nice, if not nicer. So, very pleased to be here. How many people know what Camp Quest is? Who's heard of Camp Quest? Anybody? Wow, seems like almost everybody. That's fantastic. Hayden, what is Camp Quest?
It's just a camp for children of free thinkers. It's pretty cool.
Yes, pretty cool, she says. Yeah, it's we like to say it's beyond belief. Camp Quest is actually this is just a mission statement. The basic goal of Camp Quest is to really do for free thinking kids what has been the case for the children of religious families for years and years and years. All over the country, especially here in Oklahoma and in Texas, there are lots of religious-themed camps. I don't know if any of you saw Jesus Camp, the documentary Jesus Camp. That is, one extreme version of a religious camp out there. There are a lot of religious camps that people send their kids to for the explicit purpose of religious indoctrination. And say what you will about that. They may have fun there. They may play games there. They may have a good time. But for free thinkers, that sort of experience for our children is just not negotiable. And the problem is that even when you take away those explicit religious camps, the ones that really try to indoctrinate, if you look at the other camps that are left over, very often those do have some sort of a religious component. The counselors are religious, or they're being sponsored by a church in some way, or they're affiliated with the church in some way, or they're being held on church grounds in some way. And it's very hard to find good, really secular camp experiences for your kids. And that can be a problem because it's not that there are more free thinkers now than there used to be, but I think that free thinkers, things have changed. We're now more willing to stand up and let ourselves be counted as free thinkers. And now that we're willing to stand up for ourselves and be seen in society as free thinkers, we want our children to be proud of who they are also. And so for that purpose, having these religious or pseudo-religious camps it's just not an option for us. And so that's why we have Camp Quest. So Camp Quest, for those of you that may be familiar with Camp Quest, you may not know a little bit about its history, so I'll go into that. And then Philip will fill you in on some of the things that took place last year at Camp Quest, Texas. So Camp Quest is actually several years old. It was founded in 1996 by it was actually a group of people with the Free Inquiry Group, FIG, of Cincinnati in northern Kentucky. Ironically enough, I'm from Cincinnati originally. I had no idea that these people existed. I had no idea that Camp Quest was happening more or less in my backyard. If only I had known, I would have leaped at the chance to be a part of that organization. I would be remiss in pointing out also the camp directors for about the first decade of Camp Quest was Edwin and Helen Kagan, two people that were instrumental in the founding of Camp Quest and really shaping it to be what it is today. They've since retired. In fact, Helen has passed on, but she is remembered across Camp Quest through the Helen Kagan Memorial Campership Foundation, which provides a way for underprivileged kids, children of free thinkers, to be able to get to Camp Quest, even if their parents can't afford it. So we definitely thank her, even though that she's passed on, for her continued support of Camp Quest. Now, at Camp Quest, as I said, it was initially something that took place primarily in Ohio, North Kentucky, but sort of centered in Ohio. And that's where it is, that core group of people that formed Camp Quest. They're still based in Ohio. But several years in, they began to expand. Because other free thinkers, other free thinking groups began to hear about, what is this free thinking atheist camp that you guys have in Ohio? What is this? And so just a couple states to the south, in Tennessee, there was a group, the rationalists of East Tennessee, heard about this, and they said, well, we want this too. You know, we can send our kids up to Ohio, but we could also put one on in our own state. And so was formed the very first expansion. It's called Camp Quest of the Smoky Mountains, and it's still in operation today. After that was formed in very short order, Michigan, Minnesota, California, and Ontario, Canada, the first international Camp Quest, were founded. And once that had taken place, now all of a sudden, what started as just a very local camp in Ohio became kind of a national, even an international phenomenon. And so in order to manage all this, Camp Quest Incorporated was formed in 2007. And shortly thereafter, Amanda Metzges was hired as the executive director of this organization. Amanda is a fantastic lady. She's very smart, wit crack smart, and very warm. She loves Camp Quest. She loves working with the campers.
She loves everything.
She loves yeah. There's nothing that she doesn't love. She's just a really wonderful, sweet person, and she does a fantastic job as executive director of the Camp Quest Inc. organization, which is supported by a very robust board of directors. You'll notice that the board of directors for Camp Quest is made up of people from all the Camp Quests all over the country. And even Bobby Kirkhart representing us with the Secular Coalition of America. So Camp Quest is, in fact, affiliated with the Secular Coalition of America. So there is a little bit of a political interest there, which is quite important for maintaining our needs and making sure that we're represented. These are the current locations of Camp Quests, at least within North America. The original one is in Ohio, as I said. We have Michigan, Tennessee, Virginia. This is actually Camp Quest Chesapeake. It serves this entire region. South Carolina is starting this year. We have Texas, of course, Minnesota, Ontario. Camp Quest West, they call it. They don't count Camp Quest California. Camp Quest West is, I think, the largest Camp Quest, in fact. I think they're shooting for 75 campers this year. It's fantastic. In fact, they might even be splitting north-south. And then Camp Quest Montana is just forming this year also. So we have quite a bit of a spread, and that's not even mentioning the Camp Quests that are in the UK and other countries. So we do have on the website, there's an FAQ list. These are definitely the two frequently asked questions at the very top. This is what everybody wants to know. This is, whenever you talk to somebody who's completely unfamiliar with the camp, whenever you talk to journalists who are wanting to do stories about the camp, this is what they want to know. Now, wait a minute. If this is an atheist camp, this is what everybody thinks it is. If this is an atheist camp, are campers required to be atheists? And the answer is no. Of course not. We would no sooner dogmatically force our children or try to indoctrinate them into, I don't even know how you would indoctrinate them into atheism, but we wouldn't even try. That's not the point. The point of Camp Quest is to instill the values of critical thinking, the love for exploration, the scientific method. Now, granted...
And fun.
And fun. Most of the kids do tend to come from atheist families or free-thinking families, and most of the kids that have thought about it and considered it have arrived at a position of atheism. Yes, that's true. But it's not a requirement. And likewise, the other question, can campers believe in God? Of course they can. In fact, at Camp Quest, Texas last year, we had at least one camper who did believe in God. And she had just as much fun as everybody else. So we don't discriminate, and we don't force our views on anybody. Now, a little bit about Camp Quest, Texas. So Camp Quest, Texas was founded in 2009, primarily by a group of people in the North Texas area, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the first thing we did was put on a day camp in 2009 at, it was really a fantastic, it's like a petting zoo / farm in Collin County. One of our friends owns this really fantastic property, and they've got llamas and peacocks and kangaroos and pigs and sheep and horses and goats and ducks and everything. And so we had a day camp at their farm, and the kids just absolutely loved it. We had over 30 kids show up just for one day. We had lots of parents come, and the parents came, and we thought they would leave and then come back at the end of the day. The parents did not want to leave. We actually had to scramble at the last minute to find like places for them to sit, because the parents were just so excited to find other free-thinking parents, because it can be really hard, especially in this area of the country, to find other free-thinking parents and just trade stories and maybe parenting techniques, or just let off a little steam about maybe some religious family members that don't like the fact that you're not taking your kids to seminary school. So last year we actually had the very first week-long summer camp. This is the traditional Camp Quest experience. It's a week-long sleep-away summer camp. The very first one last year in August of 2010 in Brownwood, Texas. And then we also carried off a mini camp at the Texas Free Thought Convention. And we're actually going to be doing this very same thing this year. Last year was a huge hit. The parents loved it, the kids loved it, the convention organizers loved it, because they were able to pitch that to parents and say, look, you don't have to leave your kids at home. Bring them to the convention, and there'll be a Camp Quest experience for them that they will absolutely love. So we did that. Camp Quest Minnesota did that at the American Atheist National Convention this year. It was a big hit. This is, I think, going to be a very typical thing we're going to see at these national and regional atheist conventions. It's going to be expected that Camp Quest is going to be there to take care of the kids, because why not? Why not? Why would you leave the kids at home? It's a fantastic experience. So we're going to be doing that again this year at the Texas Free Thought Convention in 2011. It's going to be in Houston. Richard Dawkins is going to be there. I highly recommend, if you can make it down to Houston, get there and bring your kids, because Dawkins is going to be there. Quick facts about Camp Quest Texas for this year. The dates: July 31st through August 6th. That's basically the first week in August. It's going to be held at the All Saints Camp and Conference Center, right on Lake Texoma on the Texas side, the bad side, obviously. All Saints is a really fantastic location. It started off as a POW camp in World War II. And then after the war, it was sold to the Boy Scouts. And the Boy Scouts turned it into sort of like their regular Boy Scout summer camp type thing. And really built it up, built the trails up, and made a lot of nice facilities. The Boy Scouts sold it to the Lutheran Church, and they turned it into a church camp. The Lutherans in turn sold it to the Episcopal Church, and the Episcopals own it now. And the Episcopals, they've got tons of money at their disposal. They have done a lot of improvements to the site. They've put in brand new cabins, brand new infrastructure all over the place. It looks fantastic, and it has that really nice camp feel. There's trees all over the place. There's a lake. There's boats, there's all kinds of stuff that's really fun to do. Kids age 8 to 18 are welcome. Now, bear in mind, if they're between 16 and 18, they can be part of the counselor in training program. They get a little bit more responsibility and learn how to be counselors, so they can come back after they graduate and be counselors the next year. The fee is $375 until June 1st, when it goes up to $425. So if you're thinking about registering, make sure you get it done before the end of the month. And you can do that at our website, campquesttexas.org. And I'm going to show here a really quick video of some of the footage that was shot last year at camp. And then Philip is going to fill you in on some of the other details.